Ay, it's a new world, gotta adapt to it. Innovation, information, more than the average. Rushing, please ignore the interruptions, cause this is digital discussions.
Guys, well, welcome to this episode of Digital Discussions. I'm your host, Jayson Siano from Sabre Real Estate, and today I have a guest that you guys may recognize, was on number 2 of At Home with Our Homies, Cory Zelnik, a good friend of mine, and I happen to be in a random office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the moment, and Cory's coming at us live from New York City, so we're going to catch up today, Cory. I mean, you and I were on At Home with Our Homies, we just figured out was about 10 weeks ago. So, man, a lot has happened in the last 10 weeks.
It's been amazing. Firstly, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. I love, you and I talk all the time. I get a kick out of doing this stuff for sure. Sharing market knowledge, always helps, whether it's with you or other peers in the business. But yeah, 10 weeks, while we all focused on COVID and when and if and who knows, and in the city where the last it was interesting, and then they hit us with this unfortunate George Floyd incident. Not that they hit us, this unfortunate George Floyd incident happened. It was terrible, it was god awful, and it just added to a lot of problems that we have. We can't get, it's not worth us getting into the politics of it all and where we all stand. We all believe, I know, about, togetherness and doing things right in the world together, black, white, brown, whatever. And we'll all try to do our little part to help that out. But when you sort of home in on our business, because that's what we do, we were in anticipation of coming out of this a little bit, and then the unfortunate thing happened, and so now you get a little bit more of a setback and a different one.
And
another challenge.
I mean, I was just saying that, like, I've gotten the sense that we're starting to, I should mention, when the protests started, I was basically en route from New York to Florida with my family, visiting family and taking advantage of the kids not, being in school and whatnot. And, it was an interesting kind of journey from New York to Florida at that time. So I was really watching, the protesting, obviously, on the news and paying attention to it on the news, and seeing, New York City, where I'm used to being, on the news, during the protests. And, at that point, to your point, it was like we were just starting to, deal with COVID and the effect of that, and the anticipation of being able to get open. And obviously, New York City being a hotspot is definitely opening later than a lot of the other parts of the country. So fast forward, this week is actually the first week for phase 1 in New York City. So what are you seeing out there on the streets today? Because you and I both know we're workaholics, so we've been working through this thing. Even if we have nothing to do, we're working, right? So
yeah, that's right. And I tell you, it's a strange positive, but on another day it might not be. But since the main component of that phase 1 is construction and getting things back in order, let me tell you something. There were, it seemed like thousands of construction workers all around. On my walk to the office, you see them everywhere, and it was nice to see, because I've been walking, over this 10-12 week period, I've been walking, to the office, and I'm 58th and 2nd, I walk to 49th and Madison, and some of my walk takes me down Park Avenue. There's no real rhyme or reason, but it's been a ghost town.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about on the days when I went in at 8 o'clock and the days when I went in at 11 o'clock. It was a ghost town, and it was nice to see. It was a strange adding of life, but it was life nonetheless.
Yeah.
And it's good. The Starbucks along my walking route have started to open up again.
Good.
That's a small positive sign for our little world.
Yeah.
And so we'll see.
Yeah, we had a high level Starbucks site tour yesterday, a virtual tour.
Yeah.
That went really well. And yesterday, actually, I was inside of a Starbucks for the first time since you and I last spoke
Right.
in Florida. And Florida, is definitely it's different, than New York. It wasn't, fortunately for Florida, it wasn't as impacted as New York, and I think they took a different approach to things. But let's be honest, people are living a lot more spaced out in most parts of the U.S. than New York
Right.
City, right? So they have the good fortune of that. And, but it is, everybody's wearing a mask, obviously, in public, but nobody's as, on alert as we are, coming out of New York. We're still operating as if we're in New York, in Florida, and other people who are basically have only experienced Florida are wearing their mask, through a common area and then taking it off. And in restaurants, you'll see that the servers have, everybody who's working in the restaurant has their mask on, but the patrons typically do not, which is, it's just interesting coming again from New York, where we've just been a lockdown, almost like afraid to see a person,
Right.
that's how extreme it is for us.
Yeah, I know. I think that when they had opened up the parks and the public areas a little bit, a couple of weeks, a few weeks back, it added a little bit of life. You still look. There's no science that says you're going to catch anything when you walk by somebody,
Right.
right? So there's plenty of people not wearing masks when they're just walking. People are, for the most part, abiding by it when they go into Starbucks or Whole Foods, or CVS or what have you, and that's fine. But it's, we always like to say this, or sometimes we don't like to say it, but it's going to be this new normalness going around, and I think that's going to be that's what's going to be the case for quite a while. In New York, we don't know from sitting in restaurants yet. That'll come.
Yeah.
The island went into phase 2, I think, this week,
Yesterday.
and I thought it was interesting when I put on, I get up early. I put on the early news, and they had one of the reporters out at some diner on Long Island that I'm not familiar with, but the guy put like the wedding tent that you put in your backyard. He put it in the parking lot, so it was outside, and he was seating customers in the tent in the parking lot.
Creative,
and so not that I don't know how long that lasts going forward, but from a perspective of positivity, we like to see the creativeness.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll see, yeah.
As you like to see the fact that places are getting open and there is a little bit more obviously normality in general, but we're still a long ways away from living the life we lived back in January, right, or February.
Oh, for sure.
Came, but and to that point, I'll tell you, since I've been in a couple of restaurants down here, that you walk in and most of them have the QR code right on the reception area. So you just put your phone up to it and the menu comes onto your phone, and
right.
Everybody walks in obviously with their masks on, and people who feel comfortable taking it off when they're seated do. It's tough to eat with a mask on if you if you haven't tried that yet.
Right.
So I think the restaurants are handling it as best as they possibly can and making everybody feel comfortable. But everybody has their own level of comfort when it comes to protecting their health and getting back out in public, obviously.
Yeah.
But we could obviously talk about our own experiences and what we're dealing with forever. But I think being in the industry, in the commercial real estate space now for almost 20 years myself. And how long are you in the industry?
About 30.
About 30. Okay. So, let's talk about what we're seeing out there and what we're excited about, what we're curious about, and what we're concerned about. Because, every day I feel like I go through a whole, every possible emotion in a day. I'm like happy and positive and have an amazing outlook on something, and then flip to the next hour and I'm like depressed and things are moving too slowly for myself. And
sure,
I hear another deal that's not happening, or a merger that's not happening that would have benefited my company. And And yesterday was actually a tough day with some bad news that we got that was not good.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, it's like you don't know what's coming, right?
No, I know.
And then today, I also I want to give you a time to dive into that, but then you also have days looking at the stock market, and you're looking at, oh well, the airlines are skyrocketing because everyone thinks that we're getting some normalcy back and people are willing to travel and so on and so forth, and then that instantly gets removed over the next few days. It's just nonstop ups and downs.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the market's down 1,500 points today, so that takes care of the last 2 weeks of growth. But I think with the amount of time we've both had in the business, they told us this all of the people who are leaders told us early on that we really can't follow the stock market too much as it relates to our day to day.
Yep.
Sometimes, depending on how
the stock market is divorced from like Wall Street's divorced from Main Street. I've been saying this in the beginning. So when you have the markets, on a tear, when all of the, obviously the jobs that are lost and then protesting and everything else, and you're watching the Dow, like just go on a run. It's like, I don't get it. Where is there's no connect there.
That's one of those things that you have to explain to the younger brokers early on that are they just look at the screen and see what the market's doing. And they say, what the hell's going on with our life? Yeah. And you got to get it out of the equation real quick. But we don't want to spend too much time on that.
No, but so for somebody who's been through downturns before, what are you thinking about right now? Are you feeling positive, negative? Just give me some general thoughts on your experience and what you feel right now.
Yeah, sure. Well, right now, I have the same mixed emotions that you go through, but I think that I'm leaning more towards the positive side. Part of that comes, I'm representing a couple of companies now that are very bullish on the city long term. They're in food. I represent Smashburger in Manhattan. We signed one deal about a week or two before things went crazy, and then we just signed another deal 3 weeks ago. And so they're bullish on New York, and so we're excited about that. They'll get announced whenever they get announced.
Well, let me ask you a question. Like when it comes to market rents, obviously everyone's saying that people want the COVID special, what that means. And a lot of times in conversations I'm having with investors and tenants, they ask me straight up, like, what are you seeing as far as the market? Is there a discount? Is it 15%, 20%? What is it? And my response has been, the market hasn't really settled yet. So I wouldn't, right? I mean, so how did you end up on the economics on a deal 3 weeks ago?
Well, what happened, to the latter point, the market hasn't settled. And because the paper that I have circulating today, we're out at 30 and 40% off the ask because the asking prices are all pre-COVID because nobody knows any better. Right. So I'm not mad at somebody when they tell me, it's 100 a foot when it can't possibly be 100 a foot, for example. I get that. Yeah. But so we put in the proposals and we're looking at those proposals as the indicators of where everybody's thinking. Right. Okay. As it relates to the previous deals, one was really was pretty much done so there wasn't going to be a COVID related discussion. And the one that finished up a few weeks ago was really well along. It was at the end of the road. Strong company, real strong landlord, everybody straight shooters, did some COVID related language and protections and things like that. But everybody sort of stuck to where they were because everyone wanted to, really just say, this is what we're about. We're not going to come in here and say, hey, you got to drop it by 50% or I'm not signing or anything like that. So we held some good numbers and fair numbers for both the landlord and the tenant. That said, the new stuff today, which I'm optimistic about, again, because like Panda Express and those boys, Jay. Yeah, of course. Believe it or not, they're still around.
Love it.
We're still doing it. They think they see this market as extremely opportunistic. We went through. They have 11 stores in the New York Metro. We went through 11 deferrals with all the various landlords. They weren't going to be able to pay. Not they weren't going to be able to, but they were not paying rent April, May, June. But we picked up the phone. We called the landlords and said, hey, this is how we would like to do this. And we structured it. Every single one is not the same, but they're big boys. They get it. They're in the real estate business as well. And so they're going to pay their rent. They think it's extremely opportunistic marketplace. And so they're one of the groups that we have paper out with, and we're trying to get a gauge. There are so many landlords, and everybody's going to think differently. There's the old school one who's generational and wants a good tenant and is happy to take a fair, what would be a fair rent. There's the guy who has to answer to the bank and may not be able to, based upon other things that he has to deal with. So you're right, it's unsettled, but until we put stuff out there, whether it's me and you and everybody else in our industry, we won't be able to get a true gauge. And quite frankly, I think all the confidentiality agreements we've ever signed in our lives, when it comes to some of these new rents, we're going to have to sign like those confis like 10 times over, never to mention what the rents were.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it's going to be.
I agree. I mean, I think that, it's interesting because my team that does national work, obviously every market's different.
Right.
And even when I'm sitting here, talking to people in Florida about New York City, they're if you don't live in New York City and you're not associated with New York City on a daily basis, so to speak, I think that you think that, wow, man, New York City is going to be crushed for the next 5 years. Right. I mean, I think New York City obviously is the most resilient place on the planet, essentially. And it'll be a process from now to, getting back to where we were. But I think that it's to your point, it's an opportunity for tenants to get some really good real estate, and for tenants who weren't able to afford New York City to begin with to come into New York City for the first time now. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and as much as people are talking about people fleeing the cities, I think, and we keep saying it, but COVID basically accelerated things, maybe 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So if you're a young family and you have young kids and you've been thinking about moving out of the city, you're probably more likely to move out of the city now as a result of this. But the people who, are living in New York City, and it's their fabric, essentially. It's in their DNA. And, I don't see those people leaving so quickly. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, because even some of those that do take off, like you said, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 years sooner than maybe they had originally planned, most of them still work, whether it's the husband, the wife, or both still work in the city. So there's still a component of what the city is all about. Not every business is going to be able to live with this working from home situation forever and ever. It
also seemed more attractive, 8 weeks ago. It was like, I could do this forever. And now fast forward another, month, it's like, Jesus, get me out of my house.
That's right. Well, you look, you love your kids, you love your dog, but it's less cute now that they're running behind the Zooms.
Exactly.
And so while everybody's more tolerant of it, it's still, and again,
it's distracting. I mean, at the end of the day, and for me, and I'm sure you can understand this, when you're so used to working and squeezing every, ounce of your day, the more distracted you are, the less productive you are, the less focused you are, the less we can catch up to where we were, right? Like, that's how I feel. I feel, my days are not as productive. Even if I'm working all day, there's less I could do because less people are answering the call or responding to a proposal because the urgency is not there because everyone's focused on their business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about the survival of the business and what do I do about the business? You're right. And I think it's going to be interesting how we all circle back to that in some manner. Maybe it's not, 100%, but, we all sort of have to lean in that direction because I think you tell me you're on the phone every single day with your crew, on your Zooms and all that stuff. And like you said, 8 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, it was cool. Hey, look at us, look at how ahead of the times we are. But
everybody showed up for the first Zoom happy hour. Trust me.
Yeah, of course.
Now it's like, I'm like, please stop having them. It's like depressing.
Right. And you're the one who promoted it to begin with, right?
Exactly. I'm like, no more.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and it's the little things. But I think that the people like yourself, myself, who've done this a long time, will circle back out of it quickly. What's interesting, while you sit around the house and physically, just physically, I'm sitting at my fiance's. I'm in Remsenburg this minute, but I've been back and forth to the city, and so I'm here, and there are things going on. It's a house. There's stuff. Like when I'm in my apartment, the worst thing I'm going to have is street noise off the terrace.
Right.
And that's no big deal. Out here, there's other stuff going on because we're not the only inhabitants, of the house. And so it makes it interesting. But again, people that are focused, so focused, like yourself and myself, and it's not about patting either of us on the back, we'll get this thing in line.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some attrition within our firms, hopefully not too much. And we'll move forward. It's a challenge. And you and I have had side phone conversations, right? The challenge with talking to the kid who's been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Who says, oh my, what? Huh? What? What's going on? And I think I had said to you, I said, that kid is not really going to understand how bad it is until he's due his $2,000 on some deal. And you say to him, no, we didn't get paid. And then you got to explain to him why we didn't get paid and how the business works. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? What business am I in? What is this? And so there are funny ways to learn.
Yeah.
But it's hard. But people figure it out. And I think that your friend Beth Azor, who I've become a follower of, talks about maintaining and not losing a generation of brokers and all of that stuff. And I hear you. But to me, as far as I'm concerned, New York State hands out licenses to anybody named Hey You, and some attrition wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying, but I think, it is on us to try to help the young people, obviously, as much as we possibly can stay in the business, and obviously to work for us. What are you doing as far as reopening your office? What's the plan? Well,
I think we're up in phase 3. I think we're June 22nd.
Yeah.
So I've been
wait and see more or less from now until then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, I think our business needs the camaraderie, the true camaraderie. You need to get into the conference room, and have the breakfast and talk about the market and talk about this. You need that from time to time.
We're in the information business. There's only so much time you can get on the phone or get on a Zoom call. It's,
right.
It's getting old.
But at the same time, you can still, because of technology, you can still, the office may physically be open, but the broker still may not come in because, look, they still got to go hit the streets, right? They got to go do their canvassing and all that. So we'll open up at the date we're allowed, and we'll go forward from there. And people will come in when they need to come in.
Yeah.
As it happens in my physical office, for no real rhyme or reason, I'm physically built out like by COVID spec. It's just the way we designed it with the cubicles and stuff. Not to do anything.
That's great. I think we are too. We have a lot of space for the amount of people that we have, so it'll be an easy transition in for us. And I'm at this point I'm really excited for, like, I would head back to New York like right now if I can get back in the office. I don't feel the need to rush back right now because I'm working remotely regardless of where I am at this point. And it's funny, I just got off the phone with one of my colleagues, and they were saying, like, literally, like, Jay, can I ask your advice on like where I should be spending my time during the day and so on and so forth? And this is a person who works really, really hard and is like us, just it's in their DNA to work super early and late every day. And I said, you know what? I'm like, enjoy this moment for a little, spend your time planning, researching spaces that may come available, different tenants that, you're hearing about in different markets. Do that stuff, but also don't drive yourself nuts. And as I was saying this to him, I realized it's like practice what you preach, Jay. I'm literally, waking up in like hot, cold sweats, like I need to get to the phone, to the computer, you know what I mean? And as I'm telling him this information, I need to realize, like, there's only so much you could do right now.
Right.
Hey, like take your kids into the pool and like chill out for a minute, you know?
Yeah. And do it at 11:30.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
Because I don't sense, I can't speak for you, but I think you believe it. There is nothing, first of all, there's never been ever in our business, but there's certainly nothing now that is that urgent.
Right.
That is that urgent. Right. And so do it at 11:30, because you know what? The guy you wanted to call, you can call him at 3:30. And so what? You'll get, you'll share and you'll do whatever. And that's what you got to do. And this is a great mind reset as well.
Yeah, but it's also, how you approach. To be honest, it's also a mind fuck. Like that.
Yes.
Like for me, I can't relax. So it's like, so even if I'm with my kids at the pool, I'm only physically there. I'm still thinking about everything else that's going on, and I feel like I'm robbing them of that. And I wish I could just shut that off a little bit more than I've been able to.
Well, I think the good thing is with your boys, they're at an age, and I say this, with the ultimate love and respect, that you being there, that's it. You're good.
Good.
Hey, I don't.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because I don't think. Look, I'm not sure you're discussing quantum theory with them at this point. So I think that you could probably, you video them jumping in the pool, slam dunking basketballs. If possible, they love you even more, right?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. No, I appreciate that. It's actually good feedback on the discussion, because I need to honestly, I need to practice a little bit more of what I preach when people ask me what they should be doing, and I'm telling them, and I'm not following my own advice.
Plus, you post everything, so everybody knows what you're not doing.
That's true. And by the way, tell, like, there are days I'm not posting as much because I'm caught in my own head, or I'm trying to spend time being present with the family and whatnot, and I'm not always posting that stuff, obviously. But so what are you seeing out there in general? What do you think? I mean, when I hear that Neiman Marcus is closing at Hudson Yards and they're trying to convert it to office space, which is, I mean, that's crazy.
Look, part of that is what makes Related as good as they are at what they do, right? Clearly money, you need money behind you to be able to even think that way, and they're good, and these are some of the smartest people in our business, and it's just very, very interesting, because it certainly changes, probably not the whole dynamic, but a large dynamic of what that thing was meant to be over there. And so it will be very interesting. And I think we're going to go through a lot of that stuff. You have the Neiman Marcus, and, where does a Nordstrom's, who has 300,000 square feet at 57th Street, how is that going to play over time? But when you bring it down, to street level, literally and figuratively, there are tremendous challenges. The immediate challenges right now are that Cuomo dropped in these eviction laws, so nothing's going to happen until the end of August. So anything that you're keeping an eye on, which is going to be available, you can't have a conversation about it until the tenant officially vacates. So the tenant's not going to pay rent because he can't pay rent. He's going to hang in there because he can't get thrown out. He can't open anyway, or he can only open the front. It's craziness. And so that little shakeout's going to not come until September-ish. Right now, for the most part, everything that's out there has been out there. So we haven't got true, there's not true, real new product yet, right? La Pan Quotidian got taken over by Orify, but they're still sorting through it.
Right.
What are they going to keep? What are they not going to keep? And so, so you'll get trickles of that stuff. But I know that with this eviction thing in place, and just the general struggles, that everything that has happened, it's going to create tremendous vacancy. It just is. Some of the portfolios that I represent, the mom and pops, we've spent these last 10, 12 weeks talking to every single one of them, trying to figure it out. That conversation, the PPP conversation, and all of that stuff. And in the end, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of dropout, just because it's the challenge is so steep for the mom and pops.
Yeah, and not just the mom and pops. I mean, when you hear that Zara is closing 1,200 stores, every day, or at least every week, you're hearing new things that that add to the, grim reality that, businesses, even if they're still healthy businesses, they're pivoting, right?
Yeah.
They're going definitely more online and realizing that they have to have a strong online platform as well as their brick and mortar. And, ultimately it's just going to be interesting. To your point, there's going to be a ton of vacancy. And, we know that the fitness, sector was propping up a lot of the retail spaces to begin with, and they're getting hurt terribly now. Restaurants, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to have these restaurateurs, they'll figure it out, right? But they're going to have to close, and they're going to have to, reestablish themselves. And it's going to be a very, very interesting next, 6, 12, 18, 24 months for sure.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, a lot, us, in our world as brokers, advisors, consultants, whatever you want to call us, it's going to be real important to get involved with, to get much smarter on specifics in transactionally, if you haven't already. Some of it comes over time. You can't just learn it in a minute, because almost every single deal is different than the one before. But you really have to try to put yourself a cut above, because the leases from LOI, the transactions are going to be so different. Percentage rent is going to be, that's going to be a real thing.
Yeah,
that's going to be a real thing. And so how does that get structured? You're going to have to understand that, and that's just a small part of it. You have to understand.
That's a great point. It's a great point, and then there's going to be also shorter term deals.
Exactly.
With options.
That's right. And so, you've done more with a lot of the startup guys, and a lot of the startup guys, maybe they were taking 3-year deals or 5-year deals. Now they may be just one with an option.
Yeah.
And so the pop-up that we used to sort of snark at is going to be so much more of a reality. It was coming into play pre all of this, and a lot of landlords saw it as a benefit because it activated their spaces. And so a lot more landlords played along. Because I'm telling you, going back early in your career and earlier in my career, landlords never wanted any part of this stuff. It was annoying. It was insurance nonsense. It's whatever. But I think it's going to be very, very, very real. And that's going to be how all of these guys, the various digital platforms get brick and mortar. And that's going to be their test. And I think they're going to have a potpourri of opportunities as to where they can try it out. Whether it's Hudson Yards or Mall of America or whatever it's going to be. And that's going to be part of what changes our world. And quite frankly, it's a big change for our brokerage world. And we shouldn't be shy. It affects how we monetize our businesses.
Oh, completely. Absolutely. And I think that a lot of folks, to your point, you have to realize that, the world that we knew 10 years ago, is going to be, I think in a lot of ways is going to be just a memory. I think we're going to have to embrace a lot of the new ways that are coming down the pike, that people will be doing business, and the direct to consumer brands, looking for opportunistic locations to plant a flag and do short-term deals. Again, all things that we've been experiencing over the last many years at this point.
Right.
It's going to be commonplace now, right?
Yeah.
And landlords are going to, have to be open to it if they weren't before.
That's right. And we, as brokers can't help ourselves but think everything moves so slow and has been moving so slow. And I think it's going to be even slower. I think there's going to be such caution as each guy goes forward with the next decision that they make. And I'm talking, whether it's Smashburger or Panda Express, these guys, they want to do it and they're going to take advantage, but there's going to be no knee-jerk reactions.
No, I think it's also, listen, on the positive side, I think that, talking about the shakeout and just the consolidation in general in the brokerage advisory space that we live in, I think you're going to have to really be good at what you do. And you're going to have to add value, and you're going to have to, look out for the best interest of your clients, and they're going to have to, trust and rely on you to make those decisions. And the folks who do that are going to be knocking it out of the park and have abundance, of work moving forward. But the folks who are used to just kind of chucking space and, fitting a square peg into a square hole, or a square peg into a round hole sometimes, There's plenty of folks out there that are just only interested in earning their fee. I think they're in for rude awakening in this world.
Yeah, I think attrition is going to come from the top and the bottom for just those reasons, because I think we've been seeing it. Everyone is so much more data driven than they've ever been before, and they come up with every company comes up with some new statistic to follow, and you really got to become a part of that. I think that, look, you're around, we've said this umpteen times, you're around a long time, I'm around a long time, and so we know the people we can talk to, and we can sort of give them, hey, this, that, and the other. But there are a lot more people on the other side of the phone now that says, hey, where does that come from? Like, what is that? And you got to be more definitive about your information, going forward, because quite frankly, the other side of the phone is younger and more millennial-ish, if you will, and they are all data driven. And I know from experience, and you've had the same, I'm sure, when you're talking to an appraiser who you're just helping out with some market information, and you're giving them, what the guy up the block paid $50 a foot, triple net, blah, blah, blah. But when he puts that in his report, it always gets an asterisk that says it came from a broker.
Yep.
And that's their sort of, nice way of saying, okay, there may be a little BS involved.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think that we are all going to have to get more precise about our stuff. And I think that if and I'm not looking to change the world, but if we as a whole get better, because we all talk about positivity, we all talk about openness and kindness and doing the right thing by everybody. If I would say across the board, we were all better sharers of information, we'd all benefit over the whole. And I think that's where some of the old school will not want to be a part of, and some of that attrition may come. And of course, look, if you have I don't want to know the secret sauce of your client if it's not supposed to be shared. I get that. I'm talking about, listen, if you did a deal up the block, don't tell me the asking rent was 50, we got close to it. Tell me it was 46.75 and it was this, and it held, and when you call me, I'm going to tell you what mine was exactly.
But and you know what, Cory? Like, again, if we're being honest, like a big part of what sucks about our business is that there are a lot of people that intentionally share bad information, or like are trying to put you onto a scent to lead you off the trail, or ultimately off a cliff. And I feel like with Sabre especially, like I've tried really hard to create an environment where people want to generally help each other and share information. Yeah. And we do that beyond our, four walls. And that's what's so unique, I think, to the company culture that we're creating.
Right.
And we're happy to embrace people that work at other companies and treat them the same way that we treat each other. And I feel like that is what this new world needs. And honestly, I believe in my heart that that's what's going to ride us off into the sunset of being something different than these big, companies that are, known to just kind of eat their young, like, so to speak, right? Like people just trying to keep the young people down because they feel intimidated that if they help them in any way, it means they're going to be, losing money or in jeopardy of their job.
No, absolutely. That's we're aligned in that thinking. And at this stage of life, I say, Jesus, it takes that person so much energy to give me bullshit. Just tell me the fucking truth, and we'll all be better off. And it'll be helpful all around.
Yeah. And you're gonna want to help the person who helps you, right? It seems like simple stuff, but in our industry, it's not necessarily. And I think, I'm hoping that, that everything that's been going on, there will be positive change. I really, truly hope and believe that will be in a lot of cases. And I think, to your point, the folks who are not willing to change, are going to be maybe in harm's way on some level.
I agree. And I think that, what's interesting is that probably most of the people on that list, they're not listening to this. They're not paying attention to this because they're in their, they're doing whatever they're doing, and that's fine, and it's perfectly fine. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. You know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you a question. So by the way, I'm just looking at my alert here. Wall Street sell-off accelerates in the final hour with the Dow plunging 1,800 points.
1,800 now. Yeah.
So by the way, so you know, whatever today's date is, June 10th, I believe.
June 11th.
June 11th. I don't even know anymore.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. The dates are like all over the place. But when we look back on this, man, you know, like I'm going to remember buying the airline stocks really low, tripling my money and not selling until I woke up this morning and looked at my portfolio and was like, oh my God, what happened? And sold everything. So
Right.
I'm still ahead. But can you believe the Dow dropped 1,800 points?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, look, I don't know if you play the market. I don't play the market, you know, kind of thing. And so
what I just said, I've been playing it, you know, a little bit during the whole thing. I'm not typically in the market.
So go play with your kids more than you play with the market.
You
right?
lose that way.
Yeah. But look, there's no control. It's just you know, either smarter people or dumber people. That's their world.
Yeah.
And so, whatever. I gotta wake up in the morning and pay a college tuition. So I'm gonna stick with what I know or what I think I know best, which is the real estate.
Yeah.
And
no, likewise. I know.
Right?
Trust me, and I've always felt that way. Plus, I work hard to make a living. So like, I'm not a great loser. I'm a good winner. I'm not a great loser.
Right.
So so I don't gamble. And right now being in the market is definitely gambling.
Oh, absolutely.
So question for you. So when I get back to New York in a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is, and I come to Manhattan,
yes,
and I haven't been in months now.
Okay.
What's going to happen when I walk down the streets? What am I going to see? Assume it's 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
Describe to me what Manhattan's going to look like 2 weeks from today.
Well, firstly, when was the last time you were in Manhattan?
So I haven't been in Manhattan since the end of March. So right around when you and I spoke last, call it March 25th.
Right. So you were here during some period of the COVID stuff.
Yes.
So you saw the nothingness of it all.
I saw the nothingness. I did a video on the nothingness actually last time I was in the city.
Right. I don't think you come back and see the place blowing up like it's New Year's Eve in terms of people and body.
I think that's
right. But I think that comparatively speaking to your mid-March last time being here, you'll say, holy shit. And you'll say, all right, we're coming back.
Good.
Because I think, offices are going to be open. There's going to be stuff happening, but it will not be back to whatever, let's just call it pre-COVID. It won't be that. I think there's going to be, if you come back post-Labor Day, you'll have more.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see. I mean, I've spoken to people that when they moved out, whether they moved to their home in Long Beach Island or they moved out east and all that stuff, they checked out till Labor Day.
Which is normal, by the way. New York City in general is a lot slower because a lot of people leave the city in the summer. So
no. But I'm talking about people that checked out the first week of March and just said, I'm not coming back till after Labor Day.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying those are the same people who probably would have been gone for a good part of the summer at their summer homes anyway.
Right. It's the June, July, August, but now you added, May, April and May, but whatever.
Right.
And I think that as it relates to our business, you're just going to have to figure it out with your client. That's what we do, right? We service. We're a service provider. Look, I'm getting in the car with Smashburger next week. We're going to go tour. We're not allowed to get, legally not allowed to go into spaces. So we're going to tour markets. We're familiar with them. So we're going to look at properties and floor plans and do the best we can with what we had. This is a rescheduling from a post-riot schedule. We were supposed to go out like the previous Tuesday, and that was like the riots were at a height. And so we just rescheduled. So, again, a new twist to the market. But we're going to be out. And we'll just tour the market and we'll go see. And again, a lot of technology helps because I'm going to take out the real estate director and I get her the CAD and then look at the very least, her architects can lay out a plan, even having not seen it. Of course, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll do something. And if all my clients said I'm not doing anything until September, I'd be fucked, but I would do nothing. But I have some client needs, and you got to service it, and that's what you do. And quite frankly, if somebody wanted something done tomorrow, you drop everything you're doing and you do it tomorrow.
Yeah. No,
But
and that's the nature of our business. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
we're on call 24/7 basically. So
absolutely.
if there's a requirement, you're happy to go.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No.
listen,
What's that?
I was just gonna say, I think I'm always, you know me well. I'm a very positive, upbeat, and optimistic person, and I remain that way. I'm cautiously optimistic. I understand there are steps to take. I'm not gonna, blow my horn and say that, hey, phase 2, New York City, phase 3, New York City, we're back in action. By no means.
Yeah.
But I'm still positive and I'm still bullish.
Yeah. Listen, I love that, and I would
Yeah.
expect somebody who's in New York City to never count out New York City, right? I mean, you never want to bet against New York City.
That's right.
Something we've all learned, and yes, it will take a couple of years for there to be, I think to get close to where we were.
Oh yeah,
For sure. But in our business, a couple of years goes really fast. Fortunately or unfortunately, a couple of years goes really fast.
Oh right.
The nature of our deals.
That's right.
The cycle. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I guess I love being on this Zoom call with somebody positive that has a positive outlook, because honestly, if you would have told me, hey, Jay, listen, get out of the business, I might have thought about it.
No.
Never.
In it for life. In it for life.
In your pursuit of chaos.
Exactly. Like this thing, I will tell you what I've learned, one of the things I always found interesting about this business in its entirety, and which always keeps me excited about it, is that almost on a daily basis, you learn something new. Totally. And quite frankly, as much as you think you learn more. You get in these times, the conversations that we've all had to have with the various people that we represent or looking to represent or what have you, I feel with everybody's general patience, people are more open. Not that they were hiding anything, but there's more time on people's hands, and you can ask different questions and you could learn more. And the way I know I've learned about the food business even further, through how Smash looks at it, how Panda looks at it, and quite frankly, how Lenwich and his, he's my local guy with 19 stores for 30 years, how he looks at it. And, so if you could try to find some appreciation, some positive to come out of this, it's things like that.
What's going to be cool too? I mean, there's going to be a lot of innovation. There are a lot of smart people that have had some time on their hands to think about what the world needs and what the new world needs, essentially, right? So there's going to be a lot of different uses, a lot of different businesses that you and I are not even aware of that'll be coming down the pike. And that's what's going to be exciting, to be aligning with those, innovators and thought leaders in categories that obviously exist already and we've been involved in. And there's going to be some new stuff that we've just that the world has never seen before, that's going to come out of this that will be super exciting.
Exactly right. And I think that, and again, and that's part of what has always made this business interesting, because I know you refer to it somewhere in some of your preaching. Remember when we were doing Blockbuster Video and where we've come and things like that. And
well, you know what? It's the same type of thing where I'm at a point where it's like I think we all realize that the same store can't sell the same shit, right? Like, which has gone on from the beginning of time. There's been, let's call it 15 different retailers that sell the same gray sweater. You get the gray sweater at the Gap or at Abercrombie or whatever it is, right? And I think that today, I mean, with how fast people have access to information, the internet, and then just bolt onto it, the use of social media and things travel at the speed of sound, which is a positive thing, but sometimes a negative thing. So, I think that when you talk to people that are in the business as long as you and I and longer, they'll just tell you, oh, it's a cycle. It's always a cycle, and the economy is a cycle, and so on and so forth. But the difference is they're not as in tune with the internet and social media, so they don't realize how different the cycle is. Yeah, there's still a cycle, but there's no need for as many companies to sell the same stuff that there once were, to have the brick and mortar stores, which is what our business thrives on, right? So, you know, there's a lot fewer tenants for the space. So, you know, so retail, what it meant to you 30 years ago, it's a different world now where, you know what, medical is retail, cannabis is retail, you know, all these other non-traditional retail uses, obviously hospitality, entertainment, you know, all of these other things, fitness, whatever, you know, service-oriented businesses, you know, that's all retail today. And I like I said earlier, I think there's going to be other categories that we're not even aware of that are going to be retail real estate for us. And when somebody who's not in my business tries to pick my brain, what's the next? I don't have an answer for you, but I can guarantee I'll be involved. I'll let you know when it's here.
Right. You'll hear me preaching once I know.
That's
you'll
right.
Get a hold of it. But
exactly.
It's all of that, and it's everybody's. It's old news now, but it's how everybody's use of technology has really changed how this thing works. I mean, we were talking about the stock market earlier. Chipotle really hasn't changed their menu in years. It's good if you like it, but their technology has gotten so much better, and that's why their stock rises the way it does. And
their technology and their understanding of their audience, and being a TikTok hack to order on the Chipotle menu. Listen, I'm pretty hip. I'm in tune with everything, the social media stuff. I'm like an old millennial, let's be honest. I'm like, wow, a TikTok. I don't even know what that means. A TikTok hack to order on Chipotle. Not sure what that means, but you know what? It means that they're staying up with the times and they know who their audience is and they're doing really creative stuff. Exactly.
And that's only why the stock rises, right? Yeah. But it's important because it drives it. Look, they sell plenty of burritos. There's no doubt about it. But part of it comes with the convenience, and millennials and others just like the convenience of hit the app, boom, walk in, it's ready, boom, have a nice day. And that's why. And now Starbucks also so technologically advanced. Yeah. Right. They're just turkey. Like you've talked about, and we all read about. The drive-through changed everybody's businesses during this COVID-19. Smashburger's been hitting the tar off the ball, and because of the drive-through, Panda Express drive-through is killing it across the country, of course. Sure. But Starbucks, who's so ahead of the curve, so their MO, I think, they made a public announcement today about it. In the city, 800 to 1,000 feet walk-ups, walk-ups. Yeah. It's basically it's a coffee ATM.
That's it, right? With the price of real estate, I mean, they've been forced out of some of their greatest corner locations because the rents have just continued to increase, and it's just not worth it for them. They can afford it, right? I mean, they could afford it if they wanted to, but just the way that technology. That's a great point, Cory, because the way that they've evolved with technology and being able to get the coffee to the consumer in all types of convenient ways. I mean, that kudos to those businesses who have been around for a long time now.
That's right.
Dating and staying at the top of their game. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, good, man. Well, listen, with that, we'll end this discussion.
All right.
But listen, I appreciate you just winging it on the fly with me here, catching up with an old friend on Digital Discussions today.
You got it. Anytime you need to fill a spot, you give me a shout, give me 2 minutes head up, and I'm ready to go.
I appreciate it, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You do the same. Best of the family.
You too, brother.
Love you, brother.
'Cause this is Digital Discussions.